On today's Try to Finish Something, I thought I'd tell you about an event that I heard about in one of my nerd groups. It's called Swoop GP. I've never been to it. I'm not being paid to promote it. I don't know much about it, but it looks pretty cool. It's Swoop, S-W-O-O-P, GP. Find out more about it at swoopgp.com. They're going to have a big costume con. They're going to have events. They've got special guests. They've got costume things. They've got motorcycle races and saber training and so much more. swoopgp.com. Sounds like it could be fun. Now, on today's Try to Finish Something, I've got that retaining wall that I should be working on, but it's really hot outside and I'd like to be doing something inside the air conditioning, and I want to do a Star Wars project, and I've got a couple ideas. Star Wars, that's what I'm going to do on today's Try to Finish Something. It's hot outside, and I want to work on a Star Wars project, and I've got some options. I need to get my Stormtrooper finished and go for 501st approval. It has some connection and some wearability issues and a couple other details, or I have a couple other ideas. I made this Remnant Trooper helmet before the channel, and then on the channel I made a second link on the screen. But this one is intended to be the base for the poles for the Trooper spikes, or this mouse droid. It's a Disneyland popcorn container. Could make this better, or I found these two Home Depot containers in the garage. I dumped out what I had in them because these are screaming to be made into a gonk droid. Or this failed Mando print could be a mashup helmet. All right, I've got space now in front of the hangar wall, and the Trooper head spike is currently just duct taped to the back of that shipping container. Let's build a proper base for it. So this helmet, after I finished it, made me want to quit doing helmets altogether. I really hated it. I thought it looked more like a Walking Dead trooper than a spiked Remnant trooper, and my second attempt was way better. And I still have a third one to make, but this helmet, this will work great as a base since it's a bit too tan in color, but the color is perfect for a dusty, half-buried trooper helmet. I don't want it to sit level. I want it to sit at a bit of an angle, so what I'm doing is propping up the helmet and then using a pencil and a can to make the line all the way around to cut on. It in no way has to be perfect. All of this is going to get buried. I should probably cut it with a handsaw or, I don't know, even a box cutter, but I am not smart. I'm going to use a battery-operated circular saw. Now, this is absolutely dangerous, and I'm keeping my fingers completely out of the way. Cutting soft material like this that is not locked down is going to cause the saw to possibly bind and kick. Yep. Just like that. Scared the crap out of me, and I was waiting for it to happen. Please be careful. Okay, a bit of fine-tuning of my angle, and finally, it will sit just like I want. Now, to cut the base from some leftover plywood. Kind of looks a bit like a hunting trophy. I'm going to use the router to soften the edges up a bit so they're more smoothed over. It'll help me with the transitions in the different textures later. I'm going to drill a few holes in the bottom to give me access to the inside once I have the helmet mounted. I draw a pencil line around the edge and then cut a few blocks to screw the helmet into. I want them just inside the pencil line, just like when I did the carbon freeze door. This will give me something to mount the helmet to. I'm just screwing this to the blocks with deck screws. Okay, now it looks like a trophy from, that time when I was hunting troopers in the outbacks of Tatooine. The Empire had left them behind when they couldn't find the droids, and we considered them to be fair game. Sorry, getting off on a tangent. Anyway, I'm going to use some expanding foam to fill in some gaps and to give me a texture for the next step to adhere to. While that dries, cut holes in the trooper helmet for the PVC pipe that will hold the trooper skewers. This side doesn't have a hole, so I'll just use a hole saw and tape the PVC pipe in place. The hole in the back is going to be harder with the hole saw, so I'll just cut it with a sharp razor blade and add the PVC pipe in there too. Now to the bottom and to spray that foam in here to hold everything in place. Once that all expands and dries, I cut some more of the bubbly parts on the outside down and spray some more around the edges of the PVC. The bubbly parts look a little bit like brains, and it gives me an idea to let a little bit drip out of one of the holes for, a bit more gore. Too much? Mandalorian, it's a bit darker. Again, I'm making heads on spikes. I don't think this is too much gore. I am now sanding down some of the spray foam and cutting it with a razor. I want the texture, just not all of this bulk. I need the base to have some weight to it, and I bought a few bags of concrete for the, retaining wall that I should be working on, and I'm going to mix up just a small amount of it now. I'm putting concrete on and working it into the uneven surfaces of the expanding foam. This should give it something to bite onto after it dries. Now this looks like concrete. How could I make it look more like sand? Ooh, how about sand? I sprinkle on some real sand and gently press that in. Now I'm spraying on a primer spray paint to even out the color and to help hold the sand in place. Ooh, look, a dead trooper in snow. Now some tan. I will spray brown on the table and let the overspray color the edges to help me start the weathering process. Then I'm going to use a dry paintbrush to knock off any loose sand, and then I'll bring it inside to finish up. I am dry brushing with a lighter tan all over the place first. Now a darker brownish tan to create some shadows. I'm just using acrylic paints. Now for the gore. I mix up some red and some brown. I want there to be a little red to it. This will be more of a theatrical and hyper-realistic paint job. This blood in the real world wouldn't stay red like this, but I want a bit of the red tones. Brownish red first, then I will knock it back with real browns and blacks on top to tone it back down a bit. I'm applying with paintbrushes and paper towels. I apply the paint at the lip of the hole and then drag it outward to create smears for blaster marks. Once done with that, I will add a brownish black to create a bit more depth to the shadows, and here is where we are. And here is the one Trooper Kabob I made a while ago on the channel. I had someone in one of my nerd groups ask how I made the spike, so I'll wrap this up making the other spike, and it will also pressure me to finish the other helmet too. I want this spike to be shorter in length. These are wooden closet rods. I'll cut it off into a rough point and use a grinder wheel to really rough this up. Now, these grooves will hold the colors that I will apply next. I'll spray on some black and some brown in no pattern whatsoever. Just some spots with each color, and then I'll sand. I don't even wait for the paint to dry. The grooves will hold the color and the rest will just sand off or slightly stain. Okay, back inside to finish. I want to add a bit more color where the spike makes contact with the helmet. And here is the final base, and the first of 2 Trooper Kabobs. I will leave you with a few close-up shots to give you some more fine detail, and I'm calling my Mandalorian Remnant Trooper Spike base finished. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please tell a friend and subscribe. If you didn't, as always, just keep it to yourself, and we'll see you next time as we try to finish something.